Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shannon and this is Shannon's Book Nook. And today we're doing the mid-year freakout tag where we talk about some of the books that I've read and enjoyed in 2025. Let's get into it. Okay, so here's the problem. 2025 has been a very mid-year. I have had very few standout, stellar, amazing reads, which kind of sucks. But I've had some books that I've enjoyed there, and then some that were just not memorable at all. So at this point in the year, I have read 62 books so far, and it is currently June 16th or 17th. I can't remember what day it is exactly, but that made this challenge a little more difficult to not pick the same book over and over again, which makes me sad because this is excuse me, this is probably the worst reading year I've had so far since starting booktube and bookstagram. And I think a lot of that is because I am reading books that I kind of have to read because I'm either a partner or I've gotten arcs for books that I think I'll enjoy, and then I just end up don't enjoying. Pause. I don't know what's going on with my voice. My voice was fine earlier. Anyways, so I think I'm gonna have to start scaling back on books that I am getting from publishers and authors and really focus on books that I have, like I own, because those are books that I bought myself that I have either read from that author before and I love them, or I've heard great things about this book from people who have very similar taste of me. So I think going forward, I'm gonna have to start prioritizing my books that I'm gonna enjoy and love. There's also a lot of stuff going on around the world that is very heavy and scary and causes my anxiety to shoot through the roof when I think about it. And so my mental health hasn't been the best. I've also left a job and I've gotten a new job and I'll be starting that in August. So there's just been a lot going on in 2025 that has taken my focus away from books. I find myself doom scrolling quite a bit. So what I need to do is kind of put myself on a social media cleanse, a detox, and put the phone down and read your books and get back into that love and that passion for reading, because sometimes I just feel like I'm reading to read for content. And that's what kind of makes it so hard to do Bookstagram and BookTube, because sometimes I don't feel like I'm reading for myself anymore. So that took a turn that I did not expect. So let's get back into it. Let's start with the first question. So question number 1 is, best book you've read so far this year? And hands down, that is going to be The Women by Kristen Hanna. This book made me cry a lot. And it made me laugh sometimes. It just all around was such a well-written book. So if you don't know what The Women is about, it is a historical fiction. And it's about the women who served in Vietnam. And back in the day, when these women would return, and they would return with PTSD and shell shock and just wouldn't know how to deal with all the things, the traumatic things that they witnessed across the sea. They were basically told by anybody and everybody that they tried to tell their story to, including doctors and therapists, that there were no women. There were no women in Vietnam. What are you talking about? And then when it finally did come out that yes, there were women, they were like, but you weren't in combat. You were in the hospital. Like, what is your problem? Read this book. If you haven't already, you need to read this book. Question 2. Best sequel you've read so far this year? Okay, so I have two, but I haven't really read a lot of sequels this year, which I need to get on that. I need to wrap up series that I'm in the middle of. But the first one I'm going to talk about is Vows and Ruins by Helen Shoira. This is the second book in the Legends of Thesmar series, and the first book is Blood and Steel, and I was immediately drawn in to the story. Now, this book, is it perfect? No. Did I give it 5 stars? No. But I did give it 4 stars. The spice rating went up significantly in this book. So there's more attention to the romance in this book, but I still had a good time. The other book that I want to talk about is Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. It is the sequel to Binding 13. Now, Binding 13 is on my list lower down, so I don't want to talk about that one too much, but Keeping 13 was dark. There are some things, you want to definitely check those trigger warnings. This book, both of the books in general, but Keeping 13, there are some things that happen. It is a cute, no, I can't say cute. It's a sweet romance between Johnny and Shannon, who are in high school in Tommen College, but it's a high school, okay? And Johnny is a rugby player for the team. He's very popular. And Shannon has transferred to the school because of a very bad case of bullying from her other campus. So Shannon is very small, very timid and kind of shy, and doesn't stand up for herself. And Johnny kind of brings out a different side of her, changes her along the way for the better. It's a sweet, sweet romance story. But I will also say, while their romance story is sweet, there are other things going on in the background that are very heavy and dark. So make sure you check those trigger warnings. Question 3. New releases you haven't read yet, but you want to. I have a few. And this is not even all of them, but these are the ones that I own, so that is going to be my focus. The first one is going to be one of my auto-buy authors, and it is Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I don't know much about this one, but I do think it's in the same world as, the Part of Your World series. I absolutely adore Abby Jimenez, and her writing is it's a 5-star prediction for me. So yeah, they meet, they fought, then they will fall hard. So I don't want to read too much. I just found this bookmark. This is my local indie bookstore, Books by the Bay, that I absolutely love. And that's where I actually got all of these books that I'm about to talk about. So Abby Jimenez is definitely on my list of new releases that I want to read before the end of the year. Another one is Problematic Summer Romance by Allie Hazelwood. And by the way, yesterday I saw something about people bullying Allie Hazelwood off of Instagram. The heck is wrong with y'all? Chill out. Seriously, that's never okay. Especially, bring it down. Especially because of what y'all are trying to cancel her for. That is absolutely ridiculous. And Allie Hazelwood is one of the nicest authors out there. Moving on. Goodness gracious. Another one is going to be Till Summer Do Us Part by Megan Quinn. I was heavily influenced. Look at that. Look at those stunning sprayed edges. I was heavily influenced on this one. I hear that it is hilarious as well as spicy. And I've read a couple of Megan Quinn books, so I'm super excited to check this one out. I definitely want to try and read all of these, the 3 that I've talked about so far. I definitely want to try and read these during the summer because they definitely have a more beach read vibe. So I do want to make sure I read these before summer ends. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is Caught Up by Nevessa Allen. This is the sequel to Lights Out, even though this follows different characters. So I've heard that some people don't like this one as much, but I'm still super excited about it. You have to keep in mind that this book follows different characters. So you're not going to get the same, like Josh is hilarious in Lights Out. He's probably not going to show up very much in this book. So your comedic relief is going to have to come from somewhere else, and it's just not going to be the same. So keep that in mind when you go into this book. Question number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest here. I am terrible about keeping up with books that are coming out later in the year. So for example, like I didn't even know Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood was coming out until I saw it and I was like, ooh, this is a new book from her. I'm picking it up. So I'm really bad about keeping up with new releases unless I get an arc of the book and then I'm going to know the release date. So I don't really have anything that I know of because I don't keep track of all of that. So sorry. Question 5, biggest disappointment. Whew, okay. I talked about the sequel earlier, so now we're going to talk about Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. Look, this book did not need to be 600 pages. It did not need to be 600 pages. I almost gave it 2 stars. I almost DNF'd it, but I pushed through. And I'm kind of glad I did because the sequel really made up for how much I disliked this book. And this book is seriously hyped everywhere on social media. It is way too long. There are some things that could have been cut from the story because the story just kind of drags on and on. Now, I will say if you like a character-driven book with a slower pace, then you're probably going to enjoy this book. But I am not a slow-paced girly. Like, I like my books to keep me on edge and moving the plot along. That does not happen in this book. There are a lot of things where you're just kind of living the day-to-day nuances of Johnny and Shannon's life. If that works for you, you'll love this book. I was bored. The other disappointing book, man, I'm coming at 2 really popular books right now. Don't be nice. Okay, so I gave it 3 stars. And it's all right. And then I DNF'd the second book. I was incredibly bored. And I don't get it. I also realized that I am not a gothic girly in my reading. My heart, dark as can be. But in my writing, I'm thinking I need to go through my shelves, and anything that has gothic vibes, I might need to reevaluate if I want to read that book, because this is not the first book, second book, or even the third book that I've read that's gothic that I'm just like, I don't understand the hype. That's me. If you love it, great. I'm happy for you. But personally, I don't get it. Question 6, biggest surprise. Okay, I have 2 books on this list that really surprised me. The first one we're going to talk about is a more recent read, and that is going to be Leave Me Behind by K.M. Moronova. This is a dark romance, specifically a dark military romance, and while I didn't like some of the things that the characters did, I ate this book up. It was really well written, and I cannot wait to read more from this author. And the other book I want to talk about is a surprise, and I'll explain why. Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I was not expecting this to be a 5-star read because the other books that I've read from her have been disappointments for me. Like, it was either a 2, a 3. They were just very mid or not. I didn't like it at all. So I left that series because I was not having a good time with it. I was like, maybe this is just some of her early writing and she's still just trying to figure herself out, and I don't like it. Sorry. But I left that series behind and I went to the Rose Hill series, which is Wild Love, and absolutely loved it. So that's why it's one of the biggest surprises of the year. I did just finish Wild Eyes, which I also really enjoyed. So those are my 2 surprises. Question 7 is favorite new author, whether it's a debut or a new to you author. So I picked Helen Shoira because I am obsessed with the Legends of Thesmar series right now. It is one of my favorite new fantasy romance series or romantasy series that I've read recently. And I want to get book 3 is on my June TBR, and I haven't gotten to it yet. And I'm like, I just kind of want to, whatever I'm reading right now, I want to stop and I just want to read book 3 because it's been a month or so since I've read one of the books and I just want to get back into it. So Helen Shoira is one of my favorite new authors. Question 8, newest fictional crush. I have 2. And the first one is Lincoln Fox from the Bourbon and Secrets book. He is a part owner of the family bourbon distillery, and it's called Fox Bourbon, I think is what it's, if I remember correctly, or Bourbon Brothers. I can't remember what the distillery is called, but Lincoln is, he's schmexy. Yeah. He's a single dad. He has 2 girls that he's having to raise. And he's also a little bit nerdy, but he's got a mouth on him. Yeah. So Lincoln Fox is one of my newest fictional crushes. The other one is Wilder Hawthorne from the Legends of Thismar series. Now, I have read, nope, I don't want to say that. Will he continue to be? I don't know. Because there are 2 books after that I still have to read. But right now, I just hope it's not like a Tamlin situation. You know what I mean? You never know with romantasy. The rug could be quickly pulled out from under you. But right now, yeah. It's giving Cassian vibes. It's giving Jason Momoa vibes. Question 9, newest favorite character. I'm going to pick Faye Calloway. She is the main female character in Bourbon and Secrets. She is a maybe a private investigator. She is a badass. And she owns her sexuality. She is top tier. And she is also, like, while she's a badass, she's also super kind and loving. I have a girl crush on Faye Calloway. And then my other 2 characters are actually from another book. Arryn and Slade from Goldfinch, which is the 6th and final book in the Plated Prisoner series. Now, because this is the 6th book, I can't really talk about it. It is a King Midas retelling, but it is so much more than that. So if you're looking for a dark romantasy where the characters go through it, check out that series. But Arryn and Slade are 2 of my favorite characters from that book, and I just wanted to talk about them because I don't think I've ever talked about them before. And Slade could also be considered one of my fictional crushes, but that wouldn't be a new fictional crush. That's why I didn't bring him up in question 8. But these 2, wow. Highly recommend that series. Question 10, book that made you cry. I've already talked about The Women by Kristen Hanna. I sobbed so much in that book. But for a change of pace, let's talk about a book that you probably haven't heard of. Hero by Lauren Rowe. We have a firefighter and a nurse. Actually, she's not a nurse. She's a physical therapist. And this one is also signed by the author. This book. So the main male character, whose name is not coming to me. The main female character is Lydia, and she's the physical therapist. And early on in the book, we find out that Colby, who is the firefighter and the main male character, he is a firefighter, and he has gone into a building to rescue people from this fire, and the building is collapsing, and Colby gets gravely injured, and he is taken to the hospital where Lydia is working. Now, Lydia is dealing with her own trauma from losing a spouse who was in the public service job. These two are their story. They're like separately and together, just so sweet. Healing together, just, yeah, I cried multiple times throughout this book. Question 11. Book that made you happy. This is probably my most anticipated release of the year, and it came out pretty early. It came out in January. I did not get to it until February, but Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. Now, was this perfect? No. It's the third book in a series, and I still had a really good time with it. It's still very fast-paced. It's still a fantasy romance. Some of the things that happen in this book are things that I don't like about fantasy, because it does slow the pace down in some parts of the book, like the traveling. That's one thing I don't like about fantasy. That's why I'm more of a romantasy girly, because in a lot of fantasy books, they are walking, they are riding horses, they are riding dragons, and the pace slows down significantly normally in those scenes, because we're just trying to get from point A to point B, and it's not always the most exciting, right? So I will say that's one thing I didn't like about this book, but this book still made me super happy. Just the build up to the release, and then just reading it, I still really enjoy this series. I love it. Question 12. Most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received? I don't know. I'm not super picky about the covers of the books. And I don't, like, if I got a lot of special edition books, then I could totally pull some of those out. But I don't buy a lot of special edition books. Maybe Till Summer Do Us Part with that stunning sprayed edge on the side might be the prettiest I've bought recently. But as far as like cover goes, I'm not picky about the cover. I don't know. So maybe Till Death Do Us Part, or Till Summer Do Us Part by Megan Quinn. That might be the prettiest book I bought this year. Last question, question number 13 is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Whew, okay. So we kind of already talked about it earlier in the video about how I need to start prioritizing books that I want to read and not necessarily the books that I'm requesting as ARCs, or books that are just being sent to me by the publisher. So I need to focus on my 25 and 2025 challenge. Because I have quite a few that I still need to read, but the ones that I really want to focus on are the ones that I own, which is this stack that I have sitting on my leg. So we're going to talk about those, but I also really want to finish the Legends of Thesmar series before the end of the year, which should be easy because I have Fates and Furies, and then the last one, Swords and Storms, I think is what it's called. I could be totally wrong. I can't remember. So I do want to get that series. I also know there's a spin-off to the series, so I also want to check that out, but if I don't get to that this year, then I don't get it. I'll put it in my next year to-do list. But let's talk about the books that I have that I need to read still in my 25 and 2025. I'm not going to talk too much about them. I'm just going to kind of show them to you, and then we'll move on, okay? The first one is Ace of Spades. I've heard great things about this book. I'm hoping that I love it. I've tried to pick it up a couple of times throughout the year, but it didn't feel like the right time. So I'm hoping I can get to it soon. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. The next one is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith, another romantasy book that I'm super excited for. This one I will be getting to very soon because it is on my July TBR. It is my book club pick. So you're getting a little preview of a book that will be on my July TBR. Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This is a chunker. And I have to have this read before July 11th because my book club is taking a book retreat. We are going to the river, and I'm super excited. And we have to have this read before that, and so we can talk about it on the book retreat, and then we get to read whatever we want to read while we're there. So Quicksilver, I'm super excited about. Another chunker, Pucking Around by Emily Rath. This is all I know about it is it's a hockey romance. And I know it's pretty spicy. I don't know if this is LGBTQ because I know some of her other books in this series are. I just know it's a hockey romance. I don't know who it features and all that. I try not to read the synopsis, but I know for the channel, I do read the synopsis. I'm just not reading them right now. The next one is Always Mine by Laura Pavlov. This, you know what? Did I buy this in 2025? No, I already had it on my TBR. So I bought this towards the end of 2024, and I do love the stunning sides with, it looks like mountains and trees. So I think this is a small town romance. This will be my first Laura Pavlov book, and I had a hold for the Libby's audiobook, and it came in, and I wasn't quite ready for it, so I had to like push it back, and hopefully I'll get it. Hopefully I'll be able to read it in July. The next one, which is one that I probably won't read until spooky season, is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I don't know much about this. I hear a lot of people love it. I have her other book, The 7-Year Slip, also on my bookshelf over there, on my TBR shelf. So I'm hoping I enjoy her writing. If not, uh-oh. Another book that I have is House of Beating Wings by Olivia Wildenstein. This is another fantasy romance or romantasy book. They're interchangeable, I feel like. But I bought this book solely because when I was looking at, I bought this at Half Price Books. I was looking at books and I opened it, and the art that popped out at me, I bought it solely for the art. And I bought it for that. That was the only reason I bought it for. But I do want to read it, obviously. Then the last physical book that I have on my 25 and 2025 books that I need to read before the end of the year, it's going to be A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. And this also has some pretty stenciled edges with those books. I mean, the detailing, I mean, wow. So I don't know much about this. I've had a couple of friends really enjoy it. I'm hoping I will. It says part historical fantasy, part rivals to lovers romance, and part, gothic mystery. This feminist fairy tale has captivated readers with its haunting, dreamlike atmosphere. Okay, so now I'm worried because this is a stunning book and I don't want to not like it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. This might be a good book to also read during spooky season since it's got a gothic vibe to it. So yeah, those are the books that I really need to read before the end of the year. There you have it. There's my mid-year freakout. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to. And if you want to leave a comment, let me know what your favorite book of 2025 is so far. Or if you have a book rec that you think I would really enjoy, leave that down in the comments. If you don't really have anything to say, but you want to let me know that you were here, leave me a heart emoji, any color heart. And I will see you next time. Bye.